Good afternoon, dear colleagues. We continue our working day at Ukraine Crisis Media Center, and the topic of the next press briefing. 3,000 regions of Ukraine joined the project Launching Regions. Rostyslav Tomenchuk, director of the Ukrainian Institute for International Politics, and Kateryna Sidash, coordinator of the educational initiative Launching Regions. Please, you are given the floor. Good afternoon. We are here today in order to present our initiative that we started 3 months ago, Launching Regions. This is our separate initiative that encompasses several areas and regional blocks directed at reforming and decentralization, the development of regional policy, and investment attractiveness of Ukrainian regions. We, as an Institute of International Politics, we are interested that our regions were unique, were competitive, and could represent themselves both for external and internal investors for the development of local community. Understanding the necessity to work with the towns and cities in order that they use the mechanisms and instruments more effectively, we started a new initiative that is called Launching Regions that envisages programs in Kharkiv, Zaporizhzhia, and Dnipropetrovsk regions, also in Lugansk and Donetsk oblasts, and the territories that are under control of Ukraine. We work in these regions for 3 months, and next week we start the work in 3 regions in the south, Khersonska, Mykolaiv, and Odessa oblasts. In the framework of this project, we envisage 3 months' work with the cities and towns of oblast importance, starting from 10,000 population, and with the joint communities. We are going to form the teams, working groups, with the representatives of local power, at the heads and of administrations or departments of economic and regional development, with the involvement of participants from civil society, and in order to improve cooperation with the public and in order to develop jointly the view of further development of the regions. So this is an educational block where we will inform on the strategic thinking and development of these towns and cities, that each city should see its uniqueness and plan its work accordingly, its funds, and not only yearly, but also they should understand what are their prospects. Then there will be a program that we will be discussing European standards and how to form projects to attract funds and to establish priorities. And the third stage, these are consultations in these towns and cities that will be conducted in each city and town, 1-day meeting, and there will be experts of the project, and they will work in each city. They will speak about strategic development and developments and attracting the funds to the regions. I give the floor to my colleague, Kateryna Sidash, coordinator of the educational initiative. I'm going to speak about some statistics. It's always interesting to speak about figures. It gives us better understanding what project does. So in the framework of our project as of today, we have such results. We cover 5 oblasts. These are Kharkiv, Zaporizhzhia, Dnipropetrovsk. These are oblasts where we worked already, and in April we will be having events in Donetsk and Lugansk regions and in Dnipropetrovsk region, the last 3rd event. And we conducted 5 seminars from 7 that were planned, and we cover 37 territorial units. These are towns and territorial communities. When we planned this project, we focused on towns and the development of small and medium-sized towns. And in the course of our program, we understood that territorial communities are the agents of changes, and their people are ready to change something, to take responsibility, and they have their approach to solve problems and how to develop their territorial units. That's why we included these territorial communities in our program. And in some aspects, it became difficult to work, but we see better results because of this. And in April, we will be having 3 events, and 15 territorial units will be involved. So these will be towns and territorial communities. On the whole, on this program, we have 175 people. They are trained, and out of these people, 65% these are representatives of local government and of administrations, mayors, deputy mayors, different communal enterprises I present, and cities, they delegate people whom they want to be trained, and 35% are representatives of civil society and civil society organizations. So this is, we had in some places 60% and 40%. Then there is some differentiation among the cities. So in January till March, there were 21 towns, 16 territorial communities. We had 4 city mayors, 5 heads of communities, and 6 deputies of mayors and the deputy head of territorial communities. So when a mayor comes or a head of a territorial community, we see better results. And we conducted 5 regional consultations in 1 oblast. And we came to the towns where the participants were mayors, because when the mayors are present, there is understanding and motivation. And then the team is working for results and work on the project, and the sense to work further with this team. So further, what we plan? We plan, as Rostyslav told us, to spread to Odessa, Mykolaiv, and Kherson oblasts, and here there are 180 participants planned. 35 cities and towns will participate, and also territorial communities also will be involved. And in each oblast, there will be 20 regional consultations are planned in most active and motivated teams that will develop good proposals and will be able to hear recommendations of the experts in order to change their proposals, to think strategically and have a complex and comprehensive approach towards problems. I will give the floor to my colleague Rostyslav. So I want to remind that our project is financed and supported by the U.S. Embassy and the USAID, the CBI, and also to the southern regions. There will be fund National Endowment for Democracy. And also, there's a small secret. These are our plans that in the framework of our initiative, launching the regions, we envisage 2 other components. They are absolutely different from that approach that we presented. 2 components: the initiative launching the regions, that is the work with political parties, and enforcement of their participation in the decentralization reform in development of the regional policy, and understanding how to contact among political parties and use their instruments and resources in order to improve the work with the voters, in order to distance themselves from the populism and address the public in order to compete in positions and views how to develop towns, cities, or oblasts. And the 3rd component of the initiative, launching the region, is working with the western regions, where we envisage working with 7 regions, where there will be some roundtables. Participants will be top officials of the regions, mayors, and heads of territorial communities, and there we will try to find ways how to improve and investment attractiveness of this region, and how to avoid risks that prevent the investors to come to these oblasts and to find new business initiatives there in order to develop themselves. Thank you, dear colleagues. All the questions that I wanted to ask you, I've already answered them. So do you have some questions to the speakers? If there's no comment, oh yes, there is a question. Please introduce yourself first. Sergei Klimovich, Xwork UA. Tell us, please, what is the specificity of your audience, whom you address actually? What do they lack, in your opinion? What do they want? What do they want to find in these trainings? The main problem we face, thank you for your question. The main problem we face is that daily technical tasks, whether these are local officials or the public, they want to have a comprehensive view of the problem. And sometimes during our meeting, we see that the majority of the ideas, when we speak to people about strategy, we speak about different cases, different approaches, the priorities, business, how they conduct some forums. And when we speak with them about the principles, how to define these priorities, in some stage, we see that we speak about the projects, practical, technical support of these projects. And at this stage, there is some gap between strategic tasks and the practical implementation. So communities, our participants, they can communicate about the priorities, but when we are speaking about practical things, what we should do now, so there is standard topics to exchange some lamps, to put new windows, and when we go back to the strategic things, our participants understand that they believe that they should shift their priorities and they should prioritize, because otherwise they can't solve these problems, and they should overcome these negative situations in which they are. I would like to add, there are many infrastructure projects proposed by our participants. We understand that this is because the infrastructure in bad condition there, and different spheres are ruined. So they think about their priorities, and first of all they think about infrastructure, but then we see that they are motivated to work development of their team or some qualities, but they should be directed to writing projects, to understand the funds and where to address with the proposals, and they have increased motivation in order to achieve the goal of the project, and that is very pleasant for us. And I would like to add, when we defined the principle, how to start to work with the towns, we discussed the opportunity that we should start with practical things, such as writing projects and searching for additional financing. Maybe it's not strategic and not so idealistic. It goes to the matter of funds, and we saw in practice that by this we can motivate our participants. They see that they can achieve practical results from those knowledge that they get, and when they see practical side of things, they think more about more strategic things. And this is important because during some events that we conducted last year and the year before the last, there were some instances, and they said, stop talking, let's do something, let's do some practical things. That's why we chose some educational process training that envisages strategic thinking with the introduction of some practical instruments. Thank you, Rostyslav. Thank you, Kateryna. If there are no comments or questions, thank you very much. Until the next time. And the next press briefing